The sun had already set on Jacksonville Beach on an uneventful Wednesday evening in mid-February 2022. That night, Jared Bridegan had taken 3 of his 4 children out for dinner. After dropping off his twins at their mother's house, Jared was driving home when he came upon an obstruction in the roadway. In the moments that followed, gunshots were heard ringing out across the otherwise quiet neighborhood. Jared Bridegan did not make it home that night, and investigators would come to the conclusion that this was not a random attack. It was a coordinated, thoughtful murder. Someone, or perhaps more than one person, wanted the father of 4 dead. Let's take a look. In 2013, Shayna Bridegan kept a blog she entitled Bridegan Musings. In it, she described herself as a mother of twins, a boy and girl, wife of 3 years, chef by trade, craft hobbyist, novel addict, and want-to-be fitness junkie. By 2022, twins Liam and Abigail were 9 years old, and Shayna Bridegan was no longer a Bridegan. She was Shayna Gardner Fernandez, having divorced her husband and father to her twins, Jared Bridegan, in 2015, and remarried a man named Mario Fernandez. Mario was a property owner and manager in Jacksonville, Florida. Jared had moved on as well. With his new wife, Kirsten, Jared welcomed 2 more daughters, Bexley, who was 2 years old, and London, only 7 months. The 33-year-old software developer was a manager at Microsoft, but his most important job was as a father to his 4 children.
Thank you, that's beautiful.
It's a great picture, Daddy. I want your flower.
I see it, that's a beautiful flower.
Jared and Shayna shared custody of the twins, alternating the weeks that the children would stay with each parent. The arrangement worked across 2 family homes, both located along the Florida coast, only a short drive from one another. For the Bridegan family, Wednesday night was date night for the kids. As part of the arrangement to see the twins regularly, on the weeks that they stayed with their mother, Jared would collect them from Shayna and Mario's and treat them to a dinner out, along with their little sister Bexley. This was the case on the 16th of February, 2022. After a dinner out, the twins were dropped at their mother's home in the Sanctuary neighborhood in South Jacksonville Beach at around 7:30 p.m. From there, Jared continued on to his home in St. Augustine, a roughly 40-minute drive. Only a few minutes into his journey, just miles from Shayna's home, Jared encountered a tire obstructing the roadway. It sat in the center of his lane. Popping on his 4-ways, Jared exited his SUV, a black Volkswagen, presumably to remove the tire. In the middle of that roadway, Jared Bridegan was shot multiple times at close range. He had no chance of surviving the attack. In the back seat of the SUV and strapped into her car seat sat Bexley, untouched and unharmed. A passerby came upon the scene within only 3 minutes and called the police. When officers arrived on the scene, they found the vehicle with the flashers on and noted the tire in front of the vehicle in the roadway. Responding officers rapidly deduced the tire as the cause of Jared's stop, which was further verified when they found nothing at all wrong with his vehicle. There were no signs of a sudden stop, such as tire marks on the pavement. The flashers left on the vehicle also suggested that Jared had taken his time to stop the vehicle safely. There was no indication that anything from the SUV was missing either. The stretch of roadway where the shooting took place was not exactly remote, but there were no other vehicles or witnesses in the immediate vicinity. It was also well lit. However, conveniently for the shooter, that particular stretch was also absent of homes lining the road and therefore also void of surveillance systems, doorbell cameras, or other likely sources of evidence in the suburban setting. It is a tree-lined area on a one-way street. One neighbor did hear the gunfire, but nothing preceding it. No raised voices, no arguments. Only the shots rang out. A home security camera registered the noise, then silence. The evidence indicated a targeted and well-planned attack. The sanctuary neighborhood is a secluded, gated community that rarely sees any violent crime. Taking on board all of these considerations, Jacksonville Beach Police determined that the chances of Jared's murder being the result of a random attack or his attacker unknown to him was extremely unlikely. The Jacksonville Beach PD called in the assistance of a canine search team from Customs and Border Protection in an effort to cover all ground. The dog performed an article search of the area, looking for any items that could have been left by either Jared or the shooter that night. In terms of physical evidence, in addition to the tire in the vehicle, handgun shell casings were also found at the scene, but no gun was located. There may not have been any cameras capturing that area of the road, but there was footage that recorded vehicles heading towards and leaving the area. Security footage captured an image of a blue Ford F-150 made between 2004 and 2008, leaving the stretch of roadway around the time of the shooting. Law enforcement asked for the public's assistance in identifying and locating the vehicle.
It does not matter if you saw something or you didn't see anything. We're asking if you were in the area to call us because we're starting to put pieces together now. And even though you may think it's nothing, you didn't see anything, that helps us with our timeline of what occurred that evening.
Jared's family was left in a state of shock and devastation. Jared Bridegan, Jared's widow, alongside his brother Adam, began speaking with the local news media regularly, making pleas for help from anyone in the public that may have seen something or may know something.
They didn't care that he was a great guy. They just shot him. Everyone should care about that. If you know anything, please say. Whether for the money or just help me and his 4 kids get answers.
According to Kirsten, Jared had virtually no enemies, but it did not take long for speculation to surface relating to Jared's ex-wife, Shayna Gardner Fernandez. After all, the two had a contentious divorce. It had been nearly 6 years since Shayna had filed for divorce, calling the relationship broken. She told the court that there was no love left in the marriage. Since then, over that full period leading to Jared's death, the couple had been in near constant litigation over first the terms of the divorce and then the custody of the children. Jared's ex-wife was the only person that anyone could point to that held any dispute with the loving father and husband.
Do you think she could be involved?
She and her husband were the only one that I'm aware of that had an issue with my husband. To say they were involved is a big thing to say without evidence to back it up, so I'm not comfortable saying that, but they are the only ones I'm aware of that were not happy with Jared.
Shayna is the daughter of Sterling and Shelley Gardner, the co-founders of Stampin' Up!, a large arts and crafts company, which, over the years, has made the Gardner family a very wealthy one. Founded by Shelley Gardner alongside her sister in the late 1980s, the company has grown internationally and now reports annual revenues of over $100 million. They based the company out of Salt Lake City, where the family also held a prominent and engaged role in the Mormon Church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or LDS. Shayna's sister Sarah is currently at the helm of the operation as the CEO, but it seems Shayna has also been a beneficiary of the family's wealth over the years. She and Jared met in 2009 while Shayna was visiting a friend in Jacksonville. The two bonded in part over their shared Mormon faith, and in 2010, they married at the Salt Lake City Temple. The engagement period was brief. According to Shelley, the restrictions on premarital relations imposed by the LDS Church meant that months-long engagements could be difficult for couples. For this reason, she and Sterling encouraged their daughters, after having found their future husbands, to marry quickly. Such was the case for Shayna and Jared. At the beginning of the couple's marriage, they seemed extremely happy. Shayna's personal blog posted loving pictures of the newlyweds as they spent time with her family in Utah and vacationed with friends. Shayna documented her and Jared's joy over her pregnancy, proudly displaying her baby bump and writing of their happy and nervous anticipation of becoming parents. The couple had decided initially to settle in the Mormon community in Utah. Jared and Shayna purchased an $800,000 home near her parents in Highland. According to friends, each drove a Mercedes, although neither one had a job at the time. This light and easy phase of the marriage quickly drew to a close. After Shayna gave birth to their twins, Liam and Abigail, the couple needed to relocate. Liam had been diagnosed with a heart condition, pulmonary hypertension. Doctors said he needed to live at sea level for his heart to work correctly. In the summer of 2014, Shayna blogged, "We have had such a great welcome to Florida, and I am so grateful for the people who have welcomed us as family. I am grateful for the freedom to practice our religion and have church family wherever we are." But it wouldn't be long before Shayna's joyful family blog went quiet. Cracks were forming in the marriage, according to those who knew the couple well. The move to Florida was meant to be a fresh start. Despite outward appearances, it was reported that Shayna began to stray from her faith. Conversely, Jared remained a devout LDS churchgoer and grew more and more distant from his wife. The 5-year marriage met its end nearly as rapidly as it had started. Friends reported that the beginning of the end came when Jared discovered racy email exchanges between Shayna and her CrossFit trainer, a man whom he had hired to train his wife as a gift. The trainer himself claims to have carried on a months-long affair while the couple was already miserable, living together at the same home, but on different sides of the large house. Shayna denies the affair. Friends of Jared said that the father was willing to forgive the alleged infidelity for the sake of their children, but claimed that Shayna was done. She just wanted out of the marriage. She filed for divorce as well as sole custody of the children. And then, things turned really ugly. The situation continued to spiral as both fought for primary custody of the twins and for exclusive occupancy of the Jacksonville home where they still lived together. Shayna accused Jared of threatening to withdraw money from the children's trust funds for his own use, and he claimed that she was spying on him by hiding baby monitors throughout the house and putting a tracking device on his car. Shayna claimed that her ex-husband allegedly engaged in disturbing and abusive behavior, such as regularly interrogating and recording her children after actively coaching them on what to say. She claimed he threatened to use these recordings against her. In an exchange with his lawyer relating to what Jared claimed were cameras set up across the house to watch him, he stated to his lawyer, "I want the flipping gates of hell released on her for this." By February 2022, both had remarried. Jared became the father to 2 more children with Kirsten, but the fighting continued, drawing in their new spouses.
I'm sure you would say that we've had happy moments. I mean, we share the 2 most beautiful children in the world. Anytime divorce comes into any situation, it's messy. It just is. I will say that I think that we both love our kids.
They took us to court over everything, whether it was true or not. Most of their motions and allegations got thrown out because they were false. So, no fear for his life, but it was just constant being dragged into court.
Finally speaking out in her own defense did little to quell the suspicions towards Jared's ex-wife. Shayna called the speculation that she could have been involved in Jared's murder inaccurate and sensationalist. But everyone from her fitness trainer to her tattoo artists began speaking to the media and suggesting her guilt. A worker at her tattoo shop claimed Shayna said she just wanted Jared to shut up and reportedly asked the staff if they knew anyone who could shut him up.
Did you have anything to do with Jared's murder?
No, I did not have anything to do with his murder. Even though we didn't always get along, he was still the father of my kids.
Throughout 2022, police remained quiet about the investigation, stating only that multiple resources were being directed to the case and that it was being worked daily. Meanwhile, Kirsten was left disturbed and frightened. Only a week after the murder, an unknown figure was caught by her home security camera just outside her door at night. According to Kirsten, this had never happened before.
I just tucked the kids in bed and I got a notification that there was a person in the driveway. In the 2.5 years that we've lived here, this is the first time we've had a random person detected on a camera, and it was a week after. So either the timing is just insane or it could be connected.
Police repeatedly made requests to the public for help. Experts suggested that the release of the surveillance video capturing the blue pickup truck was indicative of the main, perhaps only, lead at the investigators' disposal. Law enforcement would not be tracking down every Ford F-150 in Jacksonville if there was other, more significant evidence pointing towards a suspect. In the meantime, Kirsten and Adam Bridegan remained patient.
And all of us are suffering, and we live in this fear, and there is no accountability yet. There are no answers. We need those answers.
In January 2023, there was finally news of movement in the case. Jacksonville Beach police were expected to announce an arrest, but the accused was not a person that anyone close to Jared would have predicted. Jacksonville Beach Police Department Chief Jean Paul Smith made the announcement during a press conference, flanked by State Attorney Melissa Nelson and the Bridegan family.
Just under an hour ago, this man, Henry Tenen, was arrested for the following crimes: conspiracy to commit murder, second degree murder with a weapon.
Today, we have decided to share limited information about the state's evidence against Henry Tenen. We know Henry Tenen did not act alone.
Attorney Nelson revealed a few details relating to the case against Henry Tenen. The only information released, a summary document, stated that on or between January 4th and February 16th, Henry conspired to bring about the death of Jared Bridegan. She did not identify with whom Henry had allegedly conspired. Media outlets promptly reported that Henry Tenen has an extensive criminal history, stretching back decades. This record primarily consists of traffic violations, but there were notable charges just over 10 years ago for domestic assault. At that time, at least, it seems that Henry had a violent streak. He had actually been in police custody for months before the announcement of his connection to Jared's murder. He was arrested for leaving the scene of an accident with property damage.
Probable cause for the charges of murder in the second degree, conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree, accessory after the fact to a capital felony.
It has also been reported that he was in possession of a gun, but if they have found the potential murder weapon, police are not saying. Nevertheless, Henry's adult daughter expressed surprise at the news of her father's arrest for murder. She said, "I am in shock. I never thought my father would do something like this. I truly believe he is being set up." The affidavit outlining the details of the case against Henry Tenen was sealed for 30 days, during which time the state sought first-degree murder charges against Henry's co-conspirators. They did not blatantly state, however, who these individuals are or even how many people they believed were involved in the plot to kill Jared.
Henry, if you get to hear this, please choose now to do the right thing. Please help us receive justice sooner than later and allow us and your own family to move forward and focus on healing as quickly as possible. Please help us in this nightmare that we are living every single day.
Henry Tenen pleaded not guilty to conspiracy to commit murder. Although the arrest warrant has not been made public, in the days following the announcement, there have been some indications of why the police narrowed in on Henry Tenen. At 61 years old, Henry had been a resident of Jacksonville for 20 years. Neighbors and friends of Henry's spoke to the press after his arrest.
What's he like? He was a good guy. He had a couple kids. He worked 6 days a week. Hardest working dude I've ever seen.
What kind of vehicle did he drive?
He drove a old Ford F-150, and he had an old Crown Vic.
What color was that F-150?
It's blue color, maybe two-tone.
There is more linking Henry to the shooting than just the blue F-150. It seems that a home Henry rented in Jacksonville was once owned by none other than Mario Fernandez, the husband of Shayna Gardner Fernandez. Henry's ex-roommate, with whom he lived in that house, was interviewed by police for hours regarding the relationship held between Mario and his tenant, the now accused murderer, Henry Tenon.
Mario owns the house that we both had rented from him. The ATF and Jacksonville Beach Police, raided my house, took me downtown to interrogate me for hours. Who was Mario? What does he do? I'm like, he was my landlord, bro.
Despite the rumors and speculation about her role in Jared's death, Shayna initially stated publicly that she wouldn't be leaving her home in Florida. But she has now left for Washington State. It is believed that her husband, however, remained in Florida. Shayna remains insistent that she had nothing to do with her ex-husband's death, and as of the publication of this video, she has not been charged, nor have any additional suspects been named formally. For Jared's widow Kirsten and his brother Adam, there are still many questions, but what has been revealed has not been a shock to them.
I was not surprised that there was connection. It's tragic. My immediate thought is for Liam and Abigail and what they're going through right now, because what that could implicate. But I was not surprised with that connection being made.
It's very chilling because we don't know how large that conspiracy is.
The arrest affidavit outlining evidence compiled against Henry Tenon and his connection to the accused co-conspirators is still under seal. It is now sealed until mid-March 2023, giving law enforcement a bit more time to make their case for first-degree murder charges. A status conference is set for March 21st.
Do you have any idea who might have done this?
I do not have any idea. I wish it weren't like this. I wish things could have been and could be different.
And that was the tragic story of the murder of Jared Bridegan. Thank you for watching,